Oh my god. That door is blue. It's so significant. Okay, anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you are watching this video, then you are doing the elements of lit, and you are ready to get this thing finished. We only have 2 elements left. One of them's long, one of them's short. So let's go ahead and jump right in, okay? For the next element, I'm actually going to need a fair amount of space. I'm probably going to want about half the page. So I'm just going to count real quick and hope for the best. Be nice if I could pause the video so you don't have to watch me count. Okay, anyway, so we're going to move on, all right? The next, by the way, previously we talked about symbolism. We talked about how, like, English teachers can be ridiculous sometimes, in case you haven't seen the joke. Yeah, I get that a lot. Okay, the last element that's, like, the big one is going to be style, okay? Style. What is style? Style is going to be the way that a story is organized and written. So the way... If you understand this word, executed, like to do something, I actually would use that word instead. It is the way that a story is executed. It is the way that a story is accomplished. The way a story is created. That could work. Executed, written, whatever. Okay. Now, you don't have to draw this in your notes, but I don't know, it might help some of you. If you can take the theme plus the plot, so the theme is going to be the message of the story, plus the plot, which is the way that a author executes the story, that's how you get style, okay? I'm just going to add this right up here because I have some extra space and I want to save all that room. So I'm going to say theme plus plot equals style. Bam. Okay. Now, on the next slide, obviously there's going to be a whole lot of things you're going to write down. We're going to try and make them as quick as humanly possible. Most of these things can be pretty straightforward, so just kind of stick with me, okay? What we're going to do right here is just going to put like a little indentation right there and just say things to think about. Things to think about. These are the different things you should think about when you're considering style. Keep in mind that style is kind of an advanced element, and this is something that most high school students will not necessarily need to deal with. It definitely depends on the teacher, the class, and all that other stuff. But for the most part, if you are going to be an English major or writer or anything else like that, these are going to be concepts that you will most likely tackle in college. There are some exceptions on this list, but I think you catch my flow. So here we go. Okay. Yes, I am going to zoom in on the PowerPoint slides so you guys can see most of the things. The first one we have is this. What is the medium that you are doing? Okay, what is your artistic medium? I know I wrote medium type there, but I'm actually going to say artistic medium. Artistic medium. Now, if you are not an art student and you're not really sure what a medium is basically like, what are you doing? Like, how are you creating this? Are you using a painting? Are you doing a sculpture? Are you doing clay? Are you constructing something? Are you carving something? Whatever. What is the medium that you are using? So in this case, what I'm trying to get you to think about is, how are you telling this story? Are you doing it through a film? Are you doing it through a video game? Are you doing it through a book? Are you doing it through a tie-in novel? Are you doing it through poetry? There are many different ways to do this. Are you doing it through a graphic novel? You know, that's something to think about. So for artistic medium, how are you executing the story? How are you executing the story? I would put in parentheses book, film, video game, question mark. Book, comma, film, comma, video game. There's a big debate, or at least there was a big debate a long time ago about whether or not video games should be considered works of art. And at the the young age I was, back when I was a youngin', I was very adamant that yes, video games are art. If you're going to consider a book art and you're going to consider film art, then video games, which are a combination of the two, should be considered art. So, and you guys should know, even if you are a console player who only plays Call of Duty or Fortnite and Minecraft or whatever, you know, even those basic gamers understand that there are video games out there that have really rich, deep stories. So I'm going to include video games on that one. What is the artistic medium that you are going to use? Like, you know, not to bring up Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver again, but the woman that wrote that story, Amy Heng, is like a legendary writer in the video game industry, and her like the work that she does is better than some books I have read. So that's just kind of how it is. Now, moving on to the next one. The next one is going to be the story construction style. So analyze, how is the plot constructed, okay? Is it a frame narrative? Is it linear? Is it non-linear? So what I'm going to write down here is, so you guys can see it, analyze the story construction style. And what you want to do is like check your notes on plot. Analyze the story construction style. In parentheses, see notes on plot. Just to give yourself a little reminder there. Okay. All right, moving on. The other thing, these two words are connected here, so I want you to pay special attention to them. You have diction and syntax, okay? Diction is going to be the specific word choice that an author is using in their story, in their poem, or whatever. Okay, it's the specific word choice that an author is using. Syntax is going to be how they are arranging those words in order, okay? Because you can have a poetry book with, you know, a wonky syntax. It could have words in like weird groups or things like that, and that could be done for a stylistic reason. So to show a real quick example, in the book Long Way Down, which is one of my favorite books and one of my favorite books to recommend, you can see that the book is very, very, very short because each page... Oh, hey, a student's bookmark. You can see that the book is really, really short because it's written like a poetry book. Well, when the author was writing this book, they had to be very particular, not only with their word choice, but also how to stylistically group the words together, because that will impact the reader. So, diction and syntax. Diction and syntax. Those are usually words that you learn as like a senior in high school. At least you should. But I'm going to bring them down to sophomore level because that's what I teach. So, diction is going to be word choice. Then you have syntax, which is, let's see, what's an easy way to write that definition? I wrote the stylistic grouping, placement, or ordering of words. Yeah, I like that definition. Yeah, I wrote that a long time ago. The stylistic grouping, order, placement of words. If you guys remember when I was talking about House of Leaves and I mentioned how, I don't want to show it again because I don't want to give away spoilers. I accidentally did that in my last video. But anyway, I mentioned how like the words will literally follow the characters as they walk down the stairs or move about the page. That is included in syntax because it's like, how are you actually displaying the text? Okay, moving on, we have pacing. Okay, pacing is really, really awesome. This is the speed with which the story unfolds. Is your story fast? Is it slow? Is it intense? Is it calm? Things like that. So pacing. Pacing. Most stories, not going to lie, have different degrees of pacing. There are very, very few stories out there that are like almost one tone in terms of pace. Like, if you've ever seen the movie Hardcore Henry, Hardcore Henry's like constant action, or if you've seen what is it, Crank, or you know that movie where the guy has like he has a heart that's failing, so he has to like recharge himself rapidly. I can't remember the name. I think it's Crank. Anyway, like movies like that are going to be like really, 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 really fast paced, and they kind of never take a break. But you know, books can be like that too. It just kind of depends. So pacing is the speed the story unfolds. The speed of the story unfolding. Sorry, the speed of the story unfolding. I'm going too fast. I need to decrease my pace. Books can definitely have fast pacing, especially if you have action-oriented stories. That is a thing. Next, you have imagery or sensory details. So imagery, you learn a lot about that in high school English. Imagery or sensory details, I understand what that means. I'm just going to write down sensory details. So that's like writing that involves your senses, you know, your sight, smell, touch, all that good stuff. Imagery also is very connected with symbolism. So can you make the reader imagine a symbol? Good, then it would be imagery. All right. It's like the definition for imagery is going to be like language that makes the reader able to imagine whatever it is. Next, you have these two terms, figurative language and figures of speech. There are a lot of kids that have heard these words before and they're not really sure on the definitions of them. So hopefully I can kind of clear this up. Figurative language is when you're using special writing techniques to make a text better. Okay? Figurative language is when you're using special language to make a text better. Figurative language. My notes are so sloppy. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like rushing to get these videos done because I want them done as quick as I can. So I'm going to re-record them at a later time and they're going to be much better. All right. Figurative language, you're using special writing techniques I think I said to enrich. What did I say? To enrich a text. That's what makes the most sense to me. Using special writing techniques to enrich text. For figurative language devices, there are like well over 1,000 of them. I teach like the top 300 in my class. I have no clue if I'm going to be able to make a video on that one, but yeah, figurative language, it's complicated. Just kind of depends. Now, for figures of speech, okay, if you're not sure what that means, it's when a person is using unusual language to express something. So these are words that go away from the dictionary definition to create symbolic, thematic, or imagery type devices in your story. So for a figure of speech, you could just say language to connotatively affect the reader. You know, if you remember in our basic definitions video, we took down the word connotation. Connotation is your emotional connection to something. So using a figure of speech is trying to evoke connotation out of the reader. Figure of speech. What I'm going to say is using... I'm going to write down a different definition, so pay attention to me. What I'm going to say is using connotation to evoke. That's E-V-O-K-E. It means to like bring forth. To evoke emotion / theme / symbolism. I hope that definition makes sense. You're basically trying to get the reader to think a certain way about something. Okay? Now, moving on to my last two, I have dialogue, which everyone should know. Dialogue is basically when two characters are talking. So how do you use dialogue? How do characters communicate How do characters communicate? And then the last one is one of my favorite words, and I sometimes pronounce it incorrectly. Typography. Typography? Yeah, something like that. So this is basically formatting, okay? Typography. I'm saying that word right. I always say it wrong for some reason. I'm sorry. Or formatting. This is going to be like typography is basically the art of font design. It is the art of you putting words on something else. So it would be like, imagine if you were a graffiti artist, and you have like a phrase or a word or whatever that you want to put on the wall. What do you want those words to look like? What kind of font would you select? Would you select something large and bold? Would you want something elegant and beautiful? Would you want something sophisticated or simple? Things like that. So this is going to be like specific formatting for how you put the words on the page. Again, think about House of Leaves. That is a book that has like sometimes blank pages and there's only one word on the page. Think about the book Long Way Down. Remember, Long Way Down has large, like sometimes the words will mimic what is actually happening in the story, even though this is written in like a poetry fashion. Sometimes there will only be, like you have right here, sometimes there's only a few words on the page. These are not traditional books. These are books that are written with a very, very particular style of formatting in order to get a feeling out of the reader. And again, this word typography is also, or typography, however you say it, this is also the design of fonts. So like, if you know what a font is, it's like the character style that you have when you're typing. Font design is actually a huge industry, and it's really, really complicated. So this also goes into that as well. For the definition, I'm going to say what I said on the PowerPoint slide, how the author physically decorates the page. How the author, or just say how the author uses words on the page. Now, I hope that you understand that that can extend to other mediums as well. If you're considering film, for instance, for formatting of a film, it would be like, what kind of cinematography do you have? Do you have, shot, reverse shot for dialogue? Do you have, long track shots? Do you have establishing shots? Things like that. Do you have slow-mo for some scenes? In a video game, formatting could be like, do you have cutscenes? Do you not have cutscenes? It could be a bunch of different things. So anyway, now moving on to typography in general, I love to show examples of it because I'm kind of a nerd for it. Oh yeah, okay, I guess I should give you some examples of other stylistic books as well. I have this book right here, which is called Knox. This is by Anne Carson. This is a book I actually haven't read yet, but it is a poetry book. It looks like this. It's supposed to be, I haven't actually read it yet, but I believe it is supposed to be a series of memoirs about the author's brother, I think. I think it has something to do with cancer. I don't know. This book was highly recommended to me, and I haven't actually watched it, or haven't read it yet, sorry. And if you notice, like, it opens very weird, so I guess I should demonstrate this on one of my other cameras here. You have to open it like this, and you can see that it is definitely not a traditional book. I'm going to have to put away the mic and just show you how to read this book, because I kind of need a large camera space for this. So take a look. Okay. All right. And as you can see, this is a very large book. There's quite a bit to unpack here. This is actually the book itself. So, and this is just the casing for it. So if you actually wanted to read that, you would have to quite literally, unfold it. That is style, okay? This author chose that for a very particular reason. I don't know yet why. I haven't actually read it. So It's on my read list. My read list is the size of a mountain. Another good example of styling, since we're on that road right now, would be like another book by the author from House of Leaves. It would be The 50-Year Sword. The 50-Year Sword is I guess I should back up. Mark Z. Danielewski is an author, loves to try and write books that bleed into other mediums. So with House of Leaves, he was trying to accomplish like a very particular tone with his writing in this. With The 50-Year Sword, this is a horror story where it's trying to imitate the feeling of what it's like to sit around a campfire. So with this crazy book, which I also have not had the chance to read yet, this book is a horror story where the characters who are describing the events of the story are color-coded in a certain way. And so you can probably barely see it on the camera, but all the quotation marks that are there have different colors here. So yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Really cool. That's called style. All right, what else? Oh yeah, Tree of Codes. I think I have pictures of Tree of Codes on the PowerPoint slides, so I will show you. Yes, I do. This is a book called Tree of Codes. This is a very hard to find book because it is quite expensive. But when you open this book, this is what it looks like on the inside. So you can see that all the pages are cut, and you have to just line up the words in a certain way in order to read the story like that. I think it's a brilliant design. I would love to get a copy of that book, but just haven't done it yet. So, yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I have a picture of font design up here to kind of demonstrate that, but I guess I'll just see what I have. So, all right, take a look at this. Think about font design and things like that. You know, font design is super important when it comes to like billboards and things like that. Okay, perfect. This is a chart that I have that is a diagram that shows all the different parts of a font. So all of these different pieces actually are there for a reason. And you can tell by like all the dotted lines and the arrows and everything that this is a very sophisticated art form. I would consider it an art form. The people who make fonts get paid a lot of money here, so that is a thing. Okay. Now, font design means a lot to billboards, movie posters. You know, you could look up famous movie posters and understand like the font for Star Wars or Back to the Future is like really, really iconic, right? That's all part of style. So take a look at these examples of bad typography. Like this poster right here. This poster is actually something I found online that was at a school, and it really should not be at a school. How do you read that? How do you read that? Because most people are going to read left to right, up to down. So that means if you read it that way, it would say, "You don't matter. Give up. Give up, children." Now, the way you're supposed to read it is by up, down, left to right. So it'd be "You matter. Don't give up." But that is bad font design right there. Very few people are going to read it that way. Oh, yes, The Walking Dead. The very first episode of The Walking Dead. I love this one. It's "Don't dead, open inside." Yeah, I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but that's how I read that too. My first time, I was like, "Don't dead, open inside?" What? Doesn't make any sense. See, other examples I have. Oh, yeah, take a look at this. Bad font design can also happen in the real world. I don't even know how you decipher all that. I don't know. It's like that picture reminds me of like all those math word problems that kids have to go through. That was like what word problems were like in my brain as a little kid, just trying to figure out a maze of text. That's bad font design. Okay. I think those are, oh yeah, I have this one. Oh, I love this example because this always makes kids really, really angry. How are you supposed to read that sign? We're you're not till not happy. So, and obviously it's a joke because you have Captain America here fighting the whole elevator people, and everyone's trying to decide what it is. It's supposed to go like this, if you can see my mouse cursor. We're not happy till you're not happy. But who reads things in a V? I have no clue. That is a Who thought that was a great idea? I don't know. Bad formatting. Okay. I think that might be it. Yeah, that's it. So there are some examples of bad font design. Hopefully you guys never have to fall into that whole thing. But yeah, it's just kind of how it is. All right. That was style. Okay. There's one more element. So it's funny because it's going to be like that long, so I'm going to have to kill an entire page of paper for that. That's just how it is, all right? Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the last element, okay? Or go to the page for it. Go learn some style, kids. It'll help you in real life. There's your moral of the day.